You see, I'm still learning how to see. In this episode, let's talk about colors, specifically the colors found on this chart from the CBOE. If you are familiar with options trading, then you'll recognize this as the option expiration calendar across the common trading, well, let's call them packages. For our consideration today, I had a question. Does the more common option expirations dates show any obvious signs in relation to Bitcoin price action? Here's what I mean. For example, does the Bitcoin price trend up, down, sideways on the red marked days, the orange days, or even the green days? What's more, is this a worthwhile angle to explore? Is there anything of interest hidden here? And the answer is yes, there is something hidden here. Lots of little somethings, but before I explain the result, let me quickly explain how the data is assembled. On the screen now is the table. You'll note that I have a series of columns, data values, rows, and labels. The price, market, and volume related information is sourced from the historical data provided from coinmarketcap.com. The color on the CBOE chart is taken from the CBOE chart I shared earlier, which I will link in the description below. So that's the raw data, and if you look at it at a glance, there's some interesting things going on. But let's use that same data to gain further insights. First, does the color of the CBOE day of the month have any obvious impact on the volume of a given trading day? On the screen now is a sum of all the volume for each of the colors we're tracking. Note the obvious standout of the orange day. That's pretty interesting. So what now about market cap? Does the market cap have any impact on a given color of the CBOE calendar? So this chart is interesting. While in the prior chart showing volume had both the red and green days as being very active, in this chart the market cap sum is holistically lower than the orange days. I find that interesting. So far, there appears to be a glimmer of an idea that the color of the calendar day may matter or have influence. Let's try testing it out a bit with some new question. What if we took a look at the closing price at the end of the trading day, subtracted the low? That new number would give us the distance from the low of the day and the close. Then let's just sum that up by color. Does anything immediate pop out? In fact, something funny does show up. On the green days, the distance between the close and the low, that's right, it's pretty large. So if you happen to buy around the low of the given day, on a green color day, you'd end up pretty green for the day. Easier said than done, believe me. Let's build on these ideas. What if we took the high of the day and subtracted the low to get a computed value, and then use that to see if the color of the day had some sort of measured impact? In this case, what we have is a kind of distance between the high and the low. Does the color of the CBOE day make a difference here? The first chart shows a bit of spread by color as shown on the screen, but the story is more interesting if you look at it from this other view. Here in this new chart, you can see the spread by color as arranged over the calendar year so far for the data set. From an eyeball's glance, those red days have the biggest spread. Okay, if the color of the CBOE day and the spread of high and low seem to have some sort of relationship, then what about the actual close? So let's say you happen to have made a mistake and bought at the high for the day. What sort of damage would you cause to your trade by end of close? Well, it wouldn't be pretty. There is no single instance in this data set where if you buy towards the high, that by the end of the day, you'd end up green on the following day. In fact, it looks like the odds are tipped into a pretty severe loss. So let's say you happen to buy towards the close and held to the next day. What sort of risk are you looking at by that day? Well, that too, it's pretty severe to the downside. So if you bought at or say towards the close and then held all the way through to the low the next day, well, this waterfall chart is showing doom. What if though, and let's ask this one last question, what if you bought at or near the low of the day and sold at the high of the following day? What does that look like? Well, that scenario is pretty interesting if you can time it right. This waterfall chart shows that it is conceptually possible to achieve profitability even in this bear market if, and big if, you can time those trades with that split on these colored days, even adjusting for 2 large downside movements. So is this small data set worthy of a trading plan or further exploration? Well, I couldn't say, because I am an enchanted milkshake brought to life by a mythological god of the sea whose name is Poseidon. And this is Unusual Due Diligence. Make waves, my friends.